welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is going to be the next part of our food app series. In this video, we are going to implement the notification flows. So I'll not waste your time and we'll just straight away jump to the code. So before jumping into the code, one more thing that we need to do is that we need to set up our Firebase for notifications. So I have something like this. If you click on this, you can get over here, and over here, let's call that app food hub, and just accept the terms and click on continue. Okay, so once you do that, it will just ask a couple of more things and you're ready. Meanwhile, this is basically loading. Then one more thing that we need to do is that we need to load the backend code. And for backend code, what you need to do is that every time when basically you're working on anything, one thing that I would recommend to do is that you always get a fresh pull. So get over here, git pull, and then pull the master. This will basically load all the data, and now you can see over here that it says all files are up to date. Over here you can see the project is now done. So once that project is done, the next thing that you would do is that you need to set up your Android app. So to set up, what you need to do is that you need to go to Android Studio. From the Android Studio, we'll go over here into the build.gradle file, and now over here you can see that you will have a application ID. This, okay, just copy that application ID, paste it over here. Let's call it food hub Android. Okay, the SHA can be it is like when we are going for production, we'll definitely set it up, but I think for now we are on debug, so I'm not going to add that. And after that, what I'll do is that I'll click on the register. So once that registration is done, you will get this download JSON file. And once that file is downloaded, what I'll do is that I'll just copy that file and paste it. So now over here, what you need to do is that you need to go over here into the project level file, and now something like this. Okay, now I'll just drag that file that I have and I'll place it inside this. Okay, and then refactor it, and now you will see that we have this file. So now we'll just rename it refactor like this, and then you'll save it. Okay, so now this file is there, and your app side, Android side implementation for some part is done. The next thing that we need to do is that you need to add some dependencies. So that is also important. For that, what you need to do, the first thing is that you'll get over here and add these JSM services to this. So I'll go over here into the Android side, go to the root level build.gradle file, and now inside that we'll paste this. Okay, once you do that, the next thing would be to get over here and add these play services version. So I'm gonna go to the build.gradle file level, app level gradle file, and now over here to the top section, I'll add this ID, and along with the ID we need this thing. Now this is important over here, since if you are on Android on Kotlin version below 2.0, this might not work. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use 33.5.1 because this one works with the older Kotlin version. If you are on the latest version, you can go with the latest version as well. So we are on a slightly older version, that's why I'm using this. And along with that, we are going to use implementation. Okay, and over here we'll say com.google.firebase dot firebase dash messaging. Okay, and you'll just not use the messaging dash ktx. Okay, so we'll use this. Once basically these are done, what you can do is that you can just click on the sync, and meanwhile it is syncing. The next thing that we'll do is that we need to go to the console. Over here, go to the project setting. You can go from there, or you can go from on the top, on the left side as well. And from over here, you will go over here to the services account, and the services account is gonna load in a while. Okay, so now we will get over here. Okay, and now for this you need this Firebase admin SDK private key. Okay, this key is very important. You are supposed to keep this with you. You're supposed to not lose this key, because if you lose it, it will create a problem for you and you'll not be able to recreate that file. So basically, if you need to create a new key, you'll need the older key as well for that. So this is quite important. So make sure to like save it somewhere. Now I'll just download it. Just don't worry about this code. It doesn't matter whatever it's selected. It's just a snippet for you if you want to implement in one way or another. But yeah, now you can see that I have downloaded the file, and once we download that file, now once you download the file, we'll go over here into the backend code, and from the backend code, you will get over here into this Firebase services. And this Firebase services file, you will see that we have this input stream where we need to put in the downloaded file. Okay, so we'll get over here, and I'll just rename that file to something easy. So I'm gonna say Firebase key, and I'll get info. I'll basically copy the path for that. Okay, and then after that, I'll say Firebase underscore key dot JSON. Okay, now this is important. Once you place this, you need to run the backend code, and you need to look for this specific message in the logs, to make sure that it is working, and it is basically behaving as expected. If it's not, this means that the file is placed somewhere else, or like we are passing some wrong like path to the specific file. Now it will be loading, and the first thing, I think I can see that we already got this in the log, which means that the service is running as expected. So yeah, I think we are good here, and now we need to go to the Android Studio and start working on our app. So to implement notification, we need a couple of things. We'll get over here into this Java code, and then over here inside that, sorry, over here I'm gonna create a package, new package, and call it notification. And now we have this notification package over here, and inside that I'm going to create a couple of classes. One thing is going to be, let's call it for hub messaging service. Okay, and now once you do that, okay, I just added a wrong name. It should be messaging service, and it needs to be extended from Firebase messaging service. This is important to do. Now once you do that, you'll get two methods over here. One is the on new token, that is basically supposed to get the token and update the backend. And the second one would be to on message received. The message received is the method where when basically there is a notification, we get that notification over here. So these are the two things. Now the new token method is basically called later on. Let's say it doesn't load every time, but let's say when there is a change from the backend, from the Firebase, that new token is assigned to that specific user, and that user is now can basically now communicate through that. And this token is basically used for pushing those notification to specific users. So this is quite important. Now these are the two things that we do over here. The second thing that I'll do over here is that I'll create one more class, and I'll call it food hub notification manager. This is again going to be a simple class where basically we'll implement a couple of things, but let's just do one more thing. Let's call it a singleton, so that we can basically use some injection over here. So I'm gonna say inject constructor, and over here I'll say private wall food API as food API. Okay, I think for now this should be enough. So now over here I'm going to say wall enum class, and we'll call this notification channel type. So now over here we'll say wall id as int, name wall name string, wall channel name. Okay, and then we'll say channel description as string, and last one is going to be wall importance as string, sorry, as int. Okay, so once you do that, your enum class is defined, and now over here I'm going to say a couple of notification types that I'll set. So the first one is going to be ID. I'm going to say order, and let's call the description order. And now over here I'm going to say notification manager dot importance high. That's one thing. And now over here, from over here, we'll just add these values to this. Let me just add a comma to this. Okay, now we got these. Let's make it 2 3, and this is going to be promotion. Okay, then this is going to be account. Okay, let's name it promotion. That is going to be account. I'm going to use the same over here, and let's have some different importance for this. So let's say for this is going to be default, and this is going to be low. Okay, now we have this thing done, and the next thing that we'll do over here is that we'll create function create channel. Okay, and that create channels is going to support us creating all those channels. So I'm going to say notification type dot entries dot for each, which means that now for all the notification entries, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a channel. So I'm going to say wall channel is equals to notification channel compat dot builder, and now builder is supposed to get a couple of things. First thing is an ID. So this was a string ID. We need to make sure to use. Okay, I think what I can do is that I can use channel it dot channel name, and the next one is going to be the importance, and for that I'm gonna say channel it dot importance. So I think that's one thing that you can do. Let's just do one more thing. Let's call it a string. The ID should be string. That was a mistake from my end, so I'm gonna use this. Okay, and now rather than using this, I'm gonna say ID. Okay, now we got the ID for this. The second thing would be to channel dot, you can like add different kind of stuff, add a description to this channel description, right? And then you can say channel dot name, set name as it dot name, right? And once all these things are done, what you can do is that you can say channel dot build. So rather than doing it something like this, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use it directly and assign it to the channel. Okay, now that is done. The next thing would be to create a notification manager. So I'm gonna say wall notification manager is equals to notification manager dot notification manager compat dot from, and you can see it requires a context. Okay, since it requires a context, so I'm going to say I'm going to say at application context wall context as context. I'm going to pass that context to this, and now after that we'll say notification manager dot create notification channel, and then channel should be passed like this into it. Now this will basically help us create the channels, okay, with the backward compatibility. And now one thing that is going to be used almost everywhere, and that is the notification manager. So I'm going to take that notification manager from there and I'm going to paste it over here. Okay, okay, I'm just gonna use channel name. That was another mistake that we did. Now the channel thing is done. The next thing, one more thing that we need to do is that we need to update the token as well. So for that, I'm going to say function update token. Okay, and it should require a token from the user. So I'm going to say token like this. Now over here, we need to create some sort of a background service for this, background like coroutine job for this. So for that, I'll get over here and I'll say wall. Sorry, private wall job is equals to coroutine coroutine scope, and over here I'm gonna say uh, dispatcher.io plus supervisor job. Okay, this will basically help me run a background job. And now over here I'm going to say job dot launch, and inside that launch I'm going to say wall res is equals to safe API call, and then I'm going to say food API dot update FCM token. Okay, and now over here we don't have this method, so I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go to food API, and now inside that food API let's create a function. Let's call a put function, and that is going to be put slash and notification slash FCM token. Now you might be wondering where this specific value is coming from. This is actually, if you go to the backend code, and from the backend code, if you go somewhat, where do we go? We need to go to the routes. So these are the routes. Now from over here you can see the notification route, right? In the notification route you have this slash notification as the primary route, and then you have this FCM slash token as secondary route, and this is a put request. So these are the values that I have over here. And now over here I'm going to say function suspend function update token, and over here it will require a request that is going to be FCM request, and in return it's going to be something as a response, and it is going to be generic. Okay, now this object is not available, so I'm going to get over here. I'll get create a Kotlin class with the name that is going to be a data class, and that is going to be wall token as string. Now that is one thing, and there is one more thing that we need to do over here. I'm going to say update token. Okay, and now it requires a FCM token, so I'm going to say FCM token request, and then over here I'll pass that token into this. That's one thing. Now there is one more thing that is important, and that is for the first time. Let's say when there is nothing, you need to load that token for the first time. So for that I'm going to do that as well. So I'm going to say function get and store token, and that token is supposed to be something like firebase messaging dot get instant dot token dot add on completion. Now over here I'll say if it dot is successful, which means the token is now available, I'm going to call that update token, and I'm going to say it dot result. Okay, this is basically going to get me that. Now these two functionality should be called as soon as we load the application. Okay, which means that it should be called somewhat from here. So I'm going to say function, sorry, the first thing that over here we need to do is that we need to make a on create function. And now since the notification manager is created through hilt, I'm going to say inject late init var, and I'm going to say food hub notification manager. So that's something that we have. And now over here I'm going to say food hub create channels. That's first thing. The second thing would be food hub dot get and store token. This will basically create the first token for you, and it will update the backend based on the newly required token. So the token is done, and now we'll go over here into this messaging service, and we need to make sure to use this as a hilt. So for that I'm going to say Android entry point, since it's a service. So for service you need to do this, and I'm going to say inject late init var, and I'm going to say food hub notification manager like this. And now from over here I'm going to say food hub notification dot update token, and then we'll pass that token to this user. So once you do that, this means that the basic implementation is done, and now we need to implement some sort of notifications over here. And this is going to be the same case over here as well. So now I'll just make some space over here. Now over here, I'm going to create one more function, and let's call it function show notification. And this notification should contain something as title string, description string, or message. If not description, let's call it a message. That is also going to be a string. Notification ID, notification ID as integer, and lastly is going to be a intent as pending intent. So these are some values that it will require. Now once you have all these things, what you need to do is that you need to create a notification. So I'm going to say wall notification is equals to notification compat dot builder. Now this builder is basically going to contain a context. That's one thing. And I think we need to pass one more thing as well, notification channel type as well. That is also important. So along with the context, we'll pass the channel ID to this as well. So I'm going to say notification channel type dot ID. That is required. Now once that is done, the next thing would be to set some sort of values to this. That is done. Then we'll see set content title as title. Then we'll say set content text as message. Okay, and then we'll set content intent as pending intent that we pass, and then we'll say build. Okay, so that is one thing. And the next thing would be to use the notification manager. So I'm going to say notification manager dot notify. Over here you can pass as notification ID, and along with that you'll pass the notification. So I think that's something, when you do it, this will basically show that notification to the user, and that is pretty much what we need. Now we will basically go to the messaging service again. Now over here we'll fetch a couple of things from this remote message, right? So the first thing would be the title is equals to message dot notification dot title. That's gonna be something like this. Okay, then we'll say wall message is equals to message dot notification dot body. Again, that's something that we need. The third thing is basically we need to check the type. So for that we're gonna say wall data is equals to message dot notification. Oh sorry, you need to message text. Now we need to check for message dot notification message dot data. Okay, and now from over here we'll say type is equals to message data dot data, and over here we'll pass type. Okay, and we'll see if it's null, then we'll call that specific as a general. Okay, and now over here we'll check if type is equals to order, which means that the notification type is order. Now what we need to do is that we need to get an order ID as well. So I'm going to say wall order ID is equals to, or instead let's just do something else. Now we have something like this. So on top of everything, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create an intent. So I'm going to say wall intent is equals to intent. Okay, and now over here what we need to do is that we need to pass the context, and let's call it pass that this, and that is going to be main activity, then class dot java. Okay, let's just import that, and now once you do that you'll basically get that intent, and along with the intent. So now over here when we know that the type is order, this means that we can get the order ID as well. So I'm going to say order ID is equals to data of order ID. Okay, and now we'll basically set the intent dot put extra, and then from there we're gonna pass, let's suppose, a key. For now I'm gonna basically create a companion object for that. So I'll say companion object, and over here will basically constant wall order id is equals to order id, let's say something like this. So I'm gonna use that over here instead like this, and then we'll basically set the order id key as well as and then we'll pass order id like this. Okay, so these are the this will be the intent, and now the third part would be to create a pending intent. So I'm gonna use create a pending intent. The difference between a normal intent and a pending intent is that the pending intent is a intent that wraps a intent, and that pending intent is basically assigned to another service. So basically your app is not actually loading it, it's the external service or external component that basically do it. In our case, the firebase messaging service will be assigned a pending intent. So whenever the notification, sorry, in our case, we'll assign the pending intent to the notification. So whenever user click on the notification, the intent, the internal intent will be fired. In our case, which will be the normal intent, it will load the main activity, right? So I'm gonna say pending intent is equals to pending intent dot get activity over here, and then we'll pass the context to this, and along with that you can pass a request id. I'm gonna use the let's use one for request id. You can change different intent for different intents, but let's just use this for intent, and then we'll pass the intent as this, and the last one would be to have flags. So the flags are important, and for that I'm gonna use pending intent dot flag flag immutable, or pending intent dot update current. Okay, so it will basically do is that if there is already something, it will just replace that from the pending intent. So we have the pending intent created. Now what we need to do is that we need to go to the food hub notification manager, and we will say that show notification. From over here we know what we need to pass. We need to pass the title, we need to pass the message text, we need to pass the notification id. For again, notification id can be random number. Let me pass something like this, and then we'll pass the pending intent. So I'm going to use pending intent for that. Then last would be the notification type, the channel type, and for that let's say wall notification channel type is equals to when type. Okay, and I'm going to say is, or let's call it order, which means that food notification, I think that was notification channel type dot. Okay, and then the next would be if it's general, in that case we'll say food hub notification manager dot notification type dot, let's call it promotion, and the last one would be as count. Okay, count. Okay, so these are the thing. Let's just use it else so that doesn't complain. And now over here I'm gonna pass that, and so once you do that, basically this will done. So I think most of the part is done, and at least the notification part in our case should work as expected, and we should be able to send the notification. So let's just test that and see if we can send notification to the user and then receive the notification. So I'm just gonna run that code. Okay, so the app has now loaded, I hope. Okay, so now let's just log in. I'm gonna say furkan@gmail.com 456, sign in. Now we got the loading, we got over here. Now what we need to do is that we need to check if the FCM token API call is basically done. So I'm gonna select the correct package mine, and then from over here we'll see if we got the FCM token. We got the categories, login, don't see the FCM token being called. It should send that request, which is again, let me see that if res dot is API response dot success. This means that the success, it was success. So I'm gonna say log dot d, and from over here I'm gonna say FCM request. Okay, and then from over here we'll basically pass the value as res dot data dot message. Okay, so we are gonna use it like this. Else I'm gonna say FCM request data res dot, or let's call something like this, failed, and I'm gonna print that response to us user. Okay, now let me just run this code and let's just verify why this specific response, what is the problem that we have done in terms of creating this request. Some Okay, so the app has built. We can see no retrofit annotation found, which means that the API call that we are making is saying that okay, yeah. So the problem was here. So we need to add this body to the request and then try again, because again it was an issue and the token was not being updated, and that's why we are not also getting the response from the backend as well. And now I think when we do that we should be able to get this problem resolved. So let me just clear this up. Okay, so now it's loaded. Again, go to logcat, and important thing to look for in the logcat is the FCM request that you should see. So we have this card, and then over here you can see that we send this token to the put request, and we also get a 200, which means that the FCM token is updated. Now let's just send the notification to the user ID user, sorry. So I'll just put my notification portal over here, and now let's just send that request. Now when I send this request, what just happened? Why it did not send that request to the user? Okay, I think I made one more thing I missed, and that would be to go to the manifest file. Okay, we'll go over here into the Android manifest file, and now over here we need to define that service as well. So we need to say service as food hub messaging service. And now inside that we need to define some filter as well. So I'm gonna say filter messaging events like this, and we'll over here close that as well. Now let's just try once again. I think this will basically fix our issue, because definitely we're not able to register that service. So the notification was not being populated to us. Okay, yeah, one more thing that I missed over here, and that is that we need to define set it exported as false. So yeah, do now let's just try once again. Now we have this thing ready. This thing is ready as well. Let's see. Okay, everything is there. Now we'll wait for that to load. Okay, the token is being loaded, I hope. Now let me send that request once again with the hope that we'll be able to get that notification. Still not getting it. In fact, we saw a crash, which means there is something wrong with how we are setting the notification. Okay, so yes, we found the problem. Over here we need to define the icon as well, so that is important. Set small icon, I would say, that is the one. And over here we need to define that I would say launcher, or let's just say I'll dialog info. I think that should be enough. So now we'll try again. Okay, let's just try once again. This time Let's just send that notification once again. And yes, now you can see that we got that notification. And now when I click on that, you will see it loads this app, right? And there's one more thing, that it's not going away. So to let it go away, what we need to do is that we need to set is at auto cancel to true, which means that when you click on that, it will, the notification will go away, which we want. And what else? And yeah, I think that should be one thing. And one more thing that we need to set in the manifest file for our, in our case, and that is that your main activity should have a launch mode as single top, so that it doesn't recreate it, instead load the existing screen that we have. Okay, so now we have ran this again. Let me just send the notification once again. Once the app is loaded, okay, send the notification. You see we got that notification. When I click on this notification, the notification goes away and we still remain on the screen. So I think that is one thing that is done. The notification part is done. And now what we need to do is that when user click on a order related notification, we would want that user to navigate to basically a screen, right? So how do we do that? So to do that, to you take the, like, to let the user navigate to a different screen, what we need to do is that we need to go to main activity. So we'll get over here into the main activity, and from the main activity, let's just get over here into the bottom section. So now over here, inside that activity, let's create a function and call it process intent. Now over here, what we need to do is that we need to pass the intent. Okay, now this is an intent that it will pass, and there is one more thing that we need, and that would be to basically have a view model for this main activity. So let me just create one view model for this case. Let me just create a new Kotlin class and call it home view model. That will basically help with the home. And I'm gonna say view model, and it's going to be health view model. Okay, and now over here I'm gonna say inject constructor, which is again required. So now that's done. The next thing would be to create a seal class for event. So I'm gonna say home event, and now from over here I'm not gonna do enough. I'll just say in data class navigate to order detail, and then I'll say all wall order ID as string. So that is something that we need to do. And the next thing would be to create that private shared flow for that. So I'm going to say wall private wall underscore event is equals to mutable shared flow, and that is going to be home event, and then we'll say dot as shared flow. That is something that we need to do. The next thing would be to say function navigate to this, and now we don't need this. Instead we'll say view model scope dot launch, and over here we'll see something like this. Okay, so now that is done. Now we need to create that view model over here inside this section. So get over here and we'll call it wall view model. That's going to be by view model, and that is going to be home view model. I think that should be enough. Okay, so once you do that, this view model will be created for you, and now we can basically pass this view model over here into this. I'm gonna say view model as home view model inside this, and now we'll create that inside. Let's say if, yeah, if order ID is there, and you know that the order ID, for order ID we basically created a food hub messaging service dot order ID. So I'm going to use that same thing over here, right? And we'll just replace it with this one. So basically we check if that has extra, we get that order ID from there, and then we'll pass that. And once we do that, we'll basically clear it from that intent as well. So I'm going to say intent dot remove extra, and that will be something like this, so that next time it doesn't do the same thing. Now over here, from over here, I'm going to pass that these two values to this intent and the view model, and we'll also have one more function that says on new intent, and then from on new intent we'll do the same thing as well. Okay, so that's something, that's one part of this whole thing. There is one more thing that we need to do, and that would be to, let's say over here when we have the snap controller, I'm going to say launched effect. Okay, and that is going to be true. And now over here we're going to say view model dot event dot collect latest, and based on that we'll say if it is the order detail, we just navigate there. Okay, so that is something that we did, and now let's just try to run the code. Okay, now we got this. Now let me just get over here and send that notification. So now you can see I got this notification. Let me just click on this, and then you can see that it takes me to this order details, right? So that is, I guess, the one part of this whole process is done. Now the next thing would be to show the notification to the user. When I get over here, I want this section should show me all those notification, and then that notification will allow me to navigate accordingly, right? So how do we do that? So that is, I guess, the next part of ours, this specific video. So I'm gonna get over here into this UI section. So I'm gonna go features, and then over here let's create a package. Package is going to be notifications. Okay, and then right now we'll just quickly create two different files. I'm gonna say notifications list, that's going to be file, and then we'll create another thing that is going to be notifications view model. Okay, so that is going to be a hilt view model. I'm going to say hilt view model, and then I'm going to say inject constructor, and that is going to be view model like this. Now we have these things ready. Now let's just start implementing them. First thing is sealed class. I'm going to say navigation to order detail. That's, I guess, something that we need. That's all. Then I'm going to create another sealed class that is going to be state for loading, for empty. And this is again the loading notification. But for now, let's just keep it this way. I'll basically create a notification object for this. For empty, I think we don't need that. So loading success and error should be enough. And now over here, I'm going to say private wall state, that is going to be mutable state flow for notification state. Default value should be loading, and the next thing should be private wall event is equals to mutable shared flow with the notification event value, and then this is going to be something like this. Okay, that's one thing. The next thing would be to function navigate to order details, and you need to make sure that you use view model scope for this. So I'm going to say view model scope dot launch, and that is this. Okay, that's done. The next thing would be to, what else do we need? Yeah, next thing would be to say read notification. Okay, and then over here we'll basically make some sort of web calls for this, and for that we need private wall food API as food API. That's something that we need. And over here we'll say view model scope safe API call food API dot read notification, and then over here we'll basically do some stuff. So basically we don't have the notification object, we don't have the read notification, so we need to get those values, right? So to get those values, we'll get over here, and so it's just the local path slash notifications, and you need to, like, when you make a call, you will see that you will get this response. So I'm just going to copy that response, and then from that response I'm going to get over here, go to the data models, create Kotlin data class, and paste that response over here. And then over here I'm going to say notification list response, and just create that. So once you create these models, you'll see that you get a notification and a list model. Now we'll load that notification that we created in the models, and we'll go to the food API. Now over here we have two different things that we need to do. First one is a post notification for notification, and I guess that is something like something as slash, and that is going to be an ID for notification. That is one thing. And then there will be another a get request that will basically get notification for me. So I'm gonna say something like this, and this is going to be notification notification list response. Okay, so these are the two endpoints that I have created. We have already this read one. So over here, I'm also gonna say notification, and then this notification should be notification.id. Okay, now once that is done, I'm gonna say wall response is equals to something like this. And then, well, when this is done, we'll basically check. So let's say if the response is success, we don't wanna do anything else. We just will, what we'll do is that we'll make a new web call, fetching those notification that we need. We don't have that notification method. So I'm gonna, for now, let's just do this. And now over here, let's create a function that says get notifications. It won't do anything. It will be just simple that, like that. And from there, over here, I'm gonna get this notifications. Okay, so we just created this, and I think pretty much everything is done. As soon as this view model is created, we would like to fetch those notification as well. So once you do these things, I think we are good over here now. And now we'll just jump to the notification list screen. So now over here, I'm gonna say function, sorry, yeah, it's going to be add composable function notification list. And now over here, we'll basically create all these things. One thing I need over here is a nav controller. So we'll pass that nav controller over here, and then we'll create a column. Okay, and now inside that column, we'll start working on things that we want. For example, we need a modifier for this. So I'm going to say modifier dot fill max size. Okay, and now over here, let's create a two different thing. Let's create one composable as function loading screen. I'll basically use it on almost all the screens that I have. And this is going to be again a column with fill max size. Okay, and then along with that, we'll also say some sort of arrangements that we need to be to be in the center, and this. Okay, this is our loading screen. The next thing would be the error screen. So let's just make it an error screen, and then over here we'll say on retry as unit, something like this. And along with that, we'll say message. Okay, so now over here we'll say text. I'm gonna say text message. Okay, and along with that, we'll create a button. Button should also have a text that says retry, and then this on click should be on retry. Okay, so that these screens are done. And now I'm gonna say we need a view model. So that is going to be notification view model. And now over here, I'll say wall state is equals to view model dot state dot collect value as life cycle. And now inside that column, I'm going to say when state dot value is loading, which means that now we need to load that loading screen. Fine. Next one is going to be if it's a success, we're gonna get data. And then for each data, we basically show something like this. We'll basically update this. Last one is going to be error. So in case of error, we'll show that error message. Okay, now over here, this is not something, not how we want this thing. So basically, I'm going to say a lazy column. I'm going to create a lazy column over here, and I'm going to say items. That's from the list. Notifications. Along with that, I'm going to say key it.id to improve the performance for this. And now over here, basically we'll say notification item, and we'll pass the IT into it. Okay. And let's say when there is a click function, we'll do something like this. Now over here, we'll get over here and say at the rate of composable function notification item and something like this. So this is something we'll be getting. We are gonna say get the model. Okay. Now over here, you see that we have a title, and then we will get, I think that should be the message. And when user click on this, which should be getting this, we can definitely add some more stuff into this, like to have a proper decent shape. So I'm gonna say modifier dot fill max width. That's one thing. Then we'll add some slight padding from each side, like 4 dp, so that it leaves some spaces. Then what we'll do is that we'll add a clip, and that's gonna be round corner shape. That gonna be 12.dp for that. And then we'll set some background for this. Now for background, we need to make sure that if the notification is red, which mean that now we don't need this. So for this, I'm gonna say it should be transparent. So I'm gonna say let's just say color dot transparent, which means that it's red. Else what I'm gonna say primary, that's going to be material theme dot color scheme dot primary dot copy, and I'm gonna say alpha as 0.1f. Okay, this basically will add some colors to this. And one more thing that we need is that once all these thing is done, we'll add this make a clickable. Okay, and then from there we'll be doing this, and then we'll also add some internal padding to this. So I'm gonna say internal padding that should also be 16.dp. Okay, and we'll change that design slightly. So I'm gonna say the style for this should be title medium, right? And this is going to be style body medium, instead body small should be the case over here. So I think that should be pretty much enough for me. I think one more thing I think we can do is that we can create a text, call it a notification title medium, and then we'll say modifier dot padding as 16.dp, and then we'll also say fill max width. Okay, so we have some sort of title as well. And I think now I'm just gonna run this. But before running this, what we need to do is that we need to pass these two values to this. So I'm gonna go to the main activity, and over here you will see that we already have a notification. We should have a notification. Yeah, over here you can see that I have this notification section. So I'm gonna add this notification nav controller, and then this view model is important. Now why I had this placed it like this, because I wanna do something differently over here. So okay, so we'll get over here to the top where all other view models are created, like over here. Okay, so I'm going to say wall this is equals to cart view model as notification view model is equals to hilt view model. Okay, and we'll notification view model. Okay, and now you can see something. Well, like for now, let's just run the code and see if we get all those notification. And when we click on that, uh, they are basically converted, like they are red, and once they are red, we'll basically navigate. So that is also important as well. So what I'm going to do is that we'll get over here this view model, and you can see that when we read the notification, we're just getting the notification, right? So along with that, I would want that user to navigate. So I'm going to say navigate to order ID. That is also important. So the app just executed successfully. Now we'll click on this. Now you can see we have these notifications that are unread. Let me just click on this. It didn't took me anywhere, but it got unread. Okay, so now let's just rerun this so that the next change that I did is also implemented. Now over here, go to the notification section, and now you can see these. Okay, let me just click on this. Why does it doesn't navigate me? Okay, I think I know why it's not navigating. So what we need to do is that we need to implement the navigations over here, which is not implemented yet. So I'm gonna say launched effect, right? We're gonna say true for this, and then we'll say view model dot event dot collect latest only, and then we'll say when there is something like this, we'll just do this. And over here, we instead I'm going to say nav controller dot navigate order details. Make sure to select the one that is required, and now I guess that's how basically we should do it. And now when we run it this time, it will hopefully navigate me to the next screen and also read that notification as well. Now there is one more thing left before we can end this video, and I think you know that, uh, but for those who don't know, that would be to show the count in the bottom section over here. Since we want to show not like a count for like this, the item on cart, we also want to show some sort of counts. Let's say how many unread notifications are there. So now you can see when I get over here, we are getting over here, and then when I go back, it's something to. So yeah, I think that is done. Our this case is completed. Now what we need to do is that we need to show that count, right? So that is again very simple thing. You don't have to do enough for this. I'm just gonna create a wall. So that's gonna be private wall unread unread count is equals to mutable state flow 0. And then over here we'll do something like this. Now unread count, we know what it is. We'll get over here, and then from over here I'm gonna say something like this. So we don't need to do this. Instead, response dot data dot unread count. Okay, it should be something like this. Okay, so now we have this unread count that will be updated whenever there is the list updated. So I think we should be good there. Now over here I'm gonna create wall unread count is equals to, sorry, that should be notification view model dot unread count dot collect as life cycle. Okay, so collect a state. Now that is done. And now over here, this was the part, right? This is the part that basically we show. So I'm gonna get this thing, and instead I'm gonna say item count like this. Okay, and over here I'll get here outside that main activity, create a composable, create a function item count, and then over here we'll basically get the count, and I'll paste this. We also need to make sure that this is a box scope dot item count, and now over here I'll update it to this. Okay, so now this is done. And now at the same level, what we are gonna do is that we'll say if the notification route is notification and the unread count is greater than 0, in that case we'll show the value for the notification as well. And I think that should be enough. Now let's just run the code once again, and now you should be able to see the count as well over here. Now you can see this is 59, right? And now interesting thing, let's say, and I click on this order detail and I get back, you'll see that the count is updating as well, right? And yes, okay, so the app crashed, and let me just see why the app is crashing. When I click back, okay, so I think I know why this is happening. Over here you can see I got this error that says placement happened before look ahead, which means that the lazy column was trying to display something, but there was the position was basically changed. And that happens because of a reason, because if you go to the notification section over here, this value is something that we set to true, and this basically shows the bottom bar, and somehow it messes up. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'll take this value, I'm going to say side effect value, and that is going to be this. Okay, the side effect mean that this specific thing will only be executed when all the composition is done, right? And I'm going to do the same thing for the order details as well. So this is the section, I'm going to set that to false. Now when I execute this, hopefully we'll not see the error. Okay, so the app has been loading. Okay, we got these notification. Last time I think it was crashed on this one, so let me just click on this. When I get back this time, it won't crash. When I click get back, click get back, click get back, click get back, so I think this time it's working, and will also the account is also getting updated like this one. And I think that is it for this video. I hope you like the video. This is slightly longer video, but I think we wanted to cover all the notification related stuff over here. And now that everything is done, I think this should be enough for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. So till then, happy coding. Bye.
I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please like the video, comment down below, and share the video with your friends. For similar content, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if you have any queries, you can join my Discord server where we discuss different kind of things. So thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great day. Bye.